What is up, guys? My name is BassWiz, and today I'm going to be talking about The Promised Neverland. I wanted to give my thoughts on the finale of this series because it is what made my YouTube channel grab some sort of foothold in the community, and it's a series that's very near and dear to my heart, and I couldn't just let it go by and end without at least giving my thoughts on the issue. I know I've been gone for a while, and I'll talk about that near the end of the video if you are interested. But without further ado, let's get into the review. I'll start this off by saying that there's no real script to this video. This is just off the cuff. I gave it about a day or so to fester in my mind after reading the final chapter. I've just been collecting my thoughts on what I think about the series. Did I like the ending or not? And I've got to say, it did not go the way I was expecting, truth be told. I know a lot of people were disappointed with the ending of the series, and they say that the writing was lackluster near the end. I don't entirely agree with that. I don't believe that the writing was lackluster. It did lack some impact. It didn't really feel like the start of the series. The start of the series, as we all know, was super strong, super enticing. It gripped you right away. And it's hard to argue that the intensity of the chapters didn't wane near the end of the series. Like, we got answers to lots of questions along our journey through this series, through The Promised Neverland. But near the end, especially that last arc, it felt a bit too like things were falling into place way easier than they ought to have. And there was a lot of threads that didn't really get much explaining. Like, for example, how are the demons going to be living with Sonju and Musika as their leaders now? Lewis still being alive, him coming back out of nowhere, that didn't sit right with a lot of people, and it was kind of an ass pull, I have to admit. The whole deal with the promise that Emma made with Symbol, that's tough. It's hard to explain how that makes me feel, because on one hand it felt like there was no real consequence to her making such a unabashedly, like, from some perspective, selfish wish, where she got what she wanted. She got everybody to the human world and they were unharmed, and the trade-off being that she loses her memory of that family that she wanted to spend so much time with, in turn being about as selfish as Norman was when he sacrificed himself, and about as selfish as Ray was when he was about to do the same way back at the start of the series. She took that selfishness and she put it on herself, and she paid the price for it, which was memory loss. And that is a price, I would suppose, but when it comes to the character of Symbol and how he's been this kind of ruthless mediator that's overseeing the world, basically a god, and for him to take pity on Emma, essentially saying stuff along the lines of, humans have suffered 1,000 years, so that's enough payment for me. While yes, it is true that humans have suffered such a long time, I don't think it's within his character. It feels out of character for him to just be okay with taking that as a payment. I feel like he should be more selfish in that case, and it should have been way more difficult for Emma to convince him to do this promise while only taking away her memories. And speaking of that aspect itself, when we got to the human world, it wasn't exactly like she lost all her memories even. She still had those emotions that she felt. She understood that she was missing something that's not there at the moment. So it's not like a complete memory wipe. And I did feel it was kind of touching that her family was looking for her for all those years, and when they finally met, she understood that these are people that were important to her, and that was really touching. I guess if I had to shorten my opinion on what I thought of the finale, I know I've been rambling quite a bit here, but I would say I like where the story ended up. I liked the finale itself. I did not like how fast we got to it. I feel like at least another 20, 30 chapters to really, I don't know, build up suspense and flesh out that last arc, because I felt like it was way too rushed. When I last made a video on the series, it was in the middle of the fight against Queen Regavalima, and at that point in the series, everything was still really hype for me. Like, we had great action, we had possible character deaths every chapter, and that was really exciting to read. But then after that, we got plot conveniences after plot conveniences that moved the story along really quickly, and it all just fell into place for Emma and the crew. I wanted there to be more of a struggle there. I wanted to get more information about the, I forget the exact term that they use for them, but the religious order that the demons follow, and how those demons were meditating for 1,000 years. I wanted to learn more about them, because it seems like they only got used in the story to give credibility to Musica, which yes was needed, but I wanted to see more from them. I wanted more info on what they did exactly to cure Norman and all of those people from Lambda. I wanted more information on how are the demons doing after all the humans went to the human world. I wanted more information about how exactly the world is set up. Is it like another dimension, or is it just two sides of the same planet? These are still questions we don't really know much about, and I'm still interested in. I just wish, like I said, we got more to flesh out the series. But all in all, I am satisfied with the ending. I never expected this ending to be all grim and dark. I get the impression that a lot of people are really sad or annoyed whenever there's a happy ending to one of these seinen-esque shows. Like, they want the quote-unquote gritty reality that sometimes things don't always end up in a happy way. I see a lot of people comparing this ending to the ending of Tokyo Ghoul, which I do see, where it's a gritty, edgy show all the way through, and then suddenly there's a happy ending. And in the case of Tokyo Ghoul, the author was very burnt out. I remember reading that series while it was serializing, and you could tell that the author just wanted to be done with the series. I don't know how much exactly that applies to our author and illustrator combo here with Demizu Pozuka and Kayu Shirai. I don't know if they're burnt out, but I did feel a sense of they really wanted to get to the ending, and the work did suffer a bit for that. Aside from the ending though, I think The Promised Neverland is an amazing series. I would recommend it heavily to anyone who's a fan of manga in general, because throughout the whole series, we did get a lot of suspense. We did have a sense of a growing world. We did have tense character moments. We did have a lot of character development. And I want to focus on the good that this series brought instead of focusing on the ending, which I do feel is the weakest part despite all of the good that I feel the series does bring. All this being said, there is still hope for this story being more fleshed out, and that is of course with the anime. We all know that season 2 will be coming out soon. It has been delayed to next year from what I've heard, but with the anime comes another chance to add in a little bit more detail and a little bit more nuance to how the story was told, and I am definitely looking forward to that because I really enjoyed season 1 of the anime, and I've heard the same from many other people that read the manga. So there is still hope for The Promised Neverland having a better ending in the anime if you were not satisfied with how quickly the ending in the manga played out. But yeah, I think that will be it for my thoughts on The Promised Neverland. Let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments below. Again, I do apologize for my very long absence. I know I can't really do anything to make up for how long I've been gone, and I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses. I'll just be upfront with you guys. I was pretty burnt out. I was making about 2 to 3 videos a week, and these vids are not easy or quick to make. It was feeling a bit exhausting, and along with a bunch of family stuff that I had to take care of on my end and a bit of depression, honestly, that I'm going through. I didn't have it in me to keep going, making videos every day, multiple times a week like I did before. It always stuck in the back of my mind, though, that I need to make more. I need to power through and make more content, because I do love making content and broadcasting it to you guys. Don't ever think for a second that I took this for granted. I'm not a channel with like thousands of subscribers or whatever, but I felt like I had a really good connection with the subscribers that I do have. And for those few that were missing my content, because there have been a few people that reached out to me and leaving comments on my other videos asking where I'm at, I see you, and I'm sorry if I made you worry. I will try to get back to making videos when I'm feeling in a better headspace. I just didn't want to let the ending of this series go by and me not say anything about it, because like I said at the start, I love The Promised Neverland. I always will, and I had to say something. But yeah, that will be all for me today. Thank you for following me, and yeah, see ya.